Just reading about this on reliable sources written by Brian Stelter that published like 2 minutes ago.
Literally.
It was great to read Brian and to see him live on TV on CNN News Central. Brian talks about where the candidates are saying things. What they are saying is so essential with, 22 days left until the election? And for the first time, and this is notable, Vice President Harris chose to use one of her events to play sound of Donald Trump to her supporters.
I will show you one example of Donald Trump's worldview and intentions. Please roll the clip.
The worst people are the enemies from within.
So you heard his words. You heard his words coming from him.
All right, she went on to call him unstable and unhinged. With us now, former Republican strategist Lee Carter and Democratic strategist and CNN political commentator Maria Cardona. And one of the reasons I say it's so important to listen to what they say is there's limited real estate between now and Election Day. 22 days left. You only have so much time. So what you choose to do and say is so important. So Maria, choosing to focus on this, the enemy within, calling Trump unhinged, rather than what we were hearing around the convention just after, that message of joy. So why this? Why now?
Well, because I think that she has to remind the American people just how much of an existential threat Donald Trump is to the future of this country, in his own words. You know, you just did a report with Brian Stelter, who was talking about how General Milley, who worked for him, who worked alongside Trump, and so many others who have worked alongside Trump at his side in the White House, in the national security realm, have also come out to endorse Vice President Harris and have underscored just how dangerous Donald Trump is. I think so many voters have heard so much noise about this that they perhaps don't take it seriously, that they perhaps don't think that, you know, that would actually be the case if he gets near the Oval Office. So I do think it's important for her to underscore that in his own words, what he would do, and that we have to take him seriously. But it also does not take her away from her additional message of what she's going to do for the American people and how she's going to be the president for all Americans, and how she's going to bring everyone together. She always talks about how she believes there is more that unites us than divides us. So I don't think it's an either or, it's a this and that message for her in these closing days of the election, John.
Well, to that point, Lee, am I wrong? Is it not a choice? And if it is a choice, is she making the right one?
I don't think it's the right choice. In fact, I think it's a very, very poor choice on her part. Now, I understand that what he said, taken in the context and the way it is outrageous, right? But I think people are sort of have already weighed that into their vote. People have said it's, you know, he says these outrageous things. When he was president, he didn't actually do anything that scared me. In fact, I felt better under him. And those people who are going to vote for him are going to vote for him anyway. And those people who are being outraged by it are outraged already. And so it doesn't do anything. When you talk to undecided voters, the issue that they have right now is, what is Kamala Harris going to do different in her presidency than she's done for the last 4 years? It's not about how unhinged Donald Trump is. And the most effective criticism that she's had so far with undecided voters is not saying that he's a threat to democracy. It's saying that he is a small man with big consequences. It's also been the weird comments. You can always tell who's winning by who's reacting. By reacting to Donald Trump, it actually puts the focus on Donald Trump, not on her. And I think that her other attacks were much, much more effective, and this is a waste of her time.
I will say, and I do want to move on, that Tim Walz had an interesting take on that, which is he told a crowd, I think it was in Wisconsin, that Donald Trump is talking about you. He said that to the crowd. Donald Trump is talking about you, which is slightly different, right? It's putting it, you know, it's making people think that it has a direct relationship to them.
Well, I think what he was talking about, right, was outside agitators that might come into the election. So he might be talking to you if you're somebody who's going to go on and protest the election and say, you know, be the equivalent of the left version of January 6th.
But to
Maybe
be clear,
he
mentioned Adam Schiff as one of these people who was a radical left lunatic in his words. So it's not exactly clear who he was talking about. Maria, Lee said something interesting, that if you're reacting, you can see who thinks they're losing by how they are reacting. Okay? Donald Trump has reacted a lot over the last 48 hours to Vice President Harris calling on him to release his medical records, questioning his fitness. He put out a tweet 2 days ago overnight. He mentioned it on stage, and then tonight, or over the last few hours, he put out this this tweet, and I want to try to read it if I can. It uses words that are a little hard for me to pronounce. He's talking about Vice President Harris's medical record. According to her doctor's report, she suffers from urticaria, defined as a rash of round red welts on the skin that itch intensely, sometimes with dangerous swelling. She also has allergic rhinitis and allergic conjunctivitis, a very messy and dangerous situation. These are deeply serious conditions that clearly impact her functioning. I guess it's not the what he's saying here that I find interesting. It's the fact that he's saying it at all. It does seem like she got under his skin here.
If we're going to measure who's winning and who's losing by the extent of the reaction to the other candidate, Donald Trump has already lost. Because one of the things that Kamala Harris is so good at is, yes, getting under his skin. And, you know, maybe she is a rash for him, and maybe that's what he's talking about. And so I think that every single day that he lashes out, which is every single day and almost every minute of every day, you can tell he is nervous. You can tell his campaign is nervous about where they are, because frankly, by small, very small margin, but she is ahead. She's ahead in the national polls. She's ahead in a lot of these swing states. And there's no question that there's still a lot more that she needs to be doing, but we are seeing her doing it. She's going, you know, everywhere, wherever she needs to go to meet the voters where they are. And again, she is talking about all of the messages that matter. And democracy is a huge message that matters to voters. And that is exactly what she's going to be focusing on from here to Election Day.
I will say, you know what you call a campaign that's not nervous? A losing campaign. Every campaign should be nervous by definition. Absolutely. At every moment. Lee Carter, Maria Cardona, thank you both very much. Kate?